Live from the Sky News Weather Centre, this is the 10-minute briefing.
Good afternoon, thanks for joining us here at Sky News Weather and welcome to your 10-minute briefing. I'm Rachel Rays, joined by our Chief Meteorologist, Tom Saunders.
And on the briefing this afternoon, we've got a bushfire that has been burning just inland from Cairns through northern Queensland today. We'll have some details on that because it was an emergency warning for a number of hours. Also, we have an upcoming rain event for New South Wales. Could see some of the heaviest rain so far this year in some towns.
All right, let's first, Tom, have a look at the bushfires that have been burning throughout Queensland. Now, this is one of the fires that was burning across the weekend, but there are around 30 fires at the moment burning. What's happening at the moment? We had an emergency warning, Tom.
We did have an emergency warning in place, not for this fire here right now. This one's at Herberton, which is just to the east of Urban Bank, which is where we did have an emergency warning in place for much of this afternoon. Now, that has just been downgraded to a watch and act. There is still an out-of-control bushfire burning. It's just not currently threatening any homes, though. It's a large, fast-moving fire that has been travelling towards the north, towards the town of Urban Bank this afternoon. But there has been just a slight wind change now. Instead of a southerly, we're seeing more of an easterly now. That could be the sea breeze, actually, that's pushing inland from the Coral Sea. So that's now pushing that fire more towards the west rather than towards the north, and that is good news for the town of Urban Bank.
And it's less populated in those areas.
Well, it's very unpopular. There's only a few small towns in this area, so the fire was south of the town of Urban Bank. It was heading towards the town, but we've had that wind change, and now it's pushing west, so it's no longer travelling towards the town. Let's have a look at the current weather details. Now, there's no weather station at Urban Bank. Mariba's probably the closest one, which is just north. They're sitting on 25.4 degrees right now. The maximum temperatures today were bang on average through this area, so there's nothing unusual about the weather today. It's just that it's the end of the dry season. So the vegetation's exceptionally dry, and sometimes you get these major fires, even without fire weather warnings. That's having a look at the current winds. Mariba has a southeasterly, averaging 33 kilometres per hour. You can see it's a little bit windier by the coast. Cairns is averaging 43 kilometres per hour, and then it's lighter winds in Georgetown. These are the maximum gusts that we've had so far today. So we have seen maximum gusts up around 50 kilometres per hour, and it's those stronger winds that have been fanning this fire.
All right, we're going to have a chat now to the Bureau of Meteorology. We're joined by meteorologist at the Extreme Weather Desk, Dean Narramore.
Dean, thanks very much for joining us today. Now, we're going to change topic here, going from fires in Queensland to an upcoming rain event for New South Wales. We've been talking about it here on the channel the last few days. I know it's still a few days out, but at the moment, how much rain do you think the state will get?
Yeah, it is interesting. A number of our models are starting for a number of runs now, starting to show some rainfall through many parts of New South Wales, which is very good news. As over 100% of that state is now in drought. At this stage, it is early, but at this stage we're looking at least on the east coast, pretty much anywhere from the Victorian border all the way up to the Queensland border. We could see from Wednesday through to Sunday around 25 millimetres and possibly even up to 50 in some locations. As we move further west, we should see that 15 to 25 millimetres for pretty much most areas of the ranges. Not everyone will get that much, but most places along the ranges should see that. And as we get west of the divide, unfortunately there's going to be less than that. Maybe most places seen around that 5 to 10 millimetres range, and probably even less as we get towards the South Australia or the Queensland border. But most of the states should see some rainfall and thunderstorm activity from around Wednesday through to around the Sunday afternoon before it all finally clears offshore.
Dean, you mentioned thunderstorms from this particular system. Could those thunderstorms bring any severe weather, or is it just going to be a good soaking rain for some of those areas?
Yeah, look, good question. We should see some thunderstorms embedded in that rain area, but we shouldn't expect the big storms that we saw through northeast New South Wales and also southeast Queensland over the last few days, where we saw large areas experiencing lots of large accumulations of small hail, I should say, and some minor damage to some places like Childers and also parts of northeast New South Wales. But we're probably going to still see some storms with this system, but they're going to be embedded in the rain, so it's probably going to be more lightning and thunder, and maybe some gusty winds and brief downpours. But at this stage, yeah, it's going to be more of a rain event than a thunderstorm event at this stage. But it could change as it's still a few days out.
All right, Dan, well, we'll keep an eye on that, but so far sounding like good news. Now, let's cross to the other side of the country, Western Australia. They also had a stormy weekend, and it looks like another 2 weather systems will bring some further rain through this week.
Yeah, that's right. So we saw a very large low-pressure system move through the state yesterday, and that brought widespread rain and thunderstorm activity. We saw Kalgoorlie come in with 24 millimetres from a thunderstorm yesterday, and that was its heaviest fall that I've seen in almost 9 months. And even many places across the Great Southern part of the WA saw anywhere between 10 and 20 millimetres of rainfall. Now, it's clearing out now, but we should see another low pressure system develop in that area on Wednesday. We should see another widespread rain event through that part of the world with showers and thunderstorms. Anywhere kind of south of a line, Perth to Esperance, could see another 5 to 15 millimetres with this system on Wednesday, and then another 5 or 10 as we get another weaker low move in Friday and Saturday. So again, more welcome rain there, and also in New South Wales, but then between the two lows it's going to be fine and sunny for the rest of the country.
Okay, Dean, great stuff. Thanks very much for joining us today. So more welcome rain for WA. I'll tell you what though, Rachel, it won't be welcome for too much longer because they're getting very close to harvest time. Typically harvest starts in about October. So they actually want it to start drying out pretty soon across Western Australia.
Okay, but for the east, we need the rain.
We definitely do need the rain, and we're going to get some. So we just talked to Dean about that rain. He gave an indication of how much could fall. Let's have a look at that weather system now then. So here's the forecast rain for New South Wales. It's dry at the moment. It will stay dry on Tuesday. Apart from the far west, we'll start to get some showers later. But then on Wednesday, fairly widespread showers across the state with isolated storms. Looks like this event will peak on Thursday for many areas. We can see we're going to have a low pressure system through the inland. That means inland rain. It moves towards the east, so Friday that activity starts to contract towards the coast. This is how much we're expecting over the next 8 days. This is called an ensemble forecast, so it's an average of lots of models put together. That darker green shading shows 25 millimetres plus, exactly what Dean was just saying actually for the coastline. And even some of those inland areas around the central west, Dubbo for example, pretty good chance to see at least 15 millimetres. I'll tell you what, Rachel, if Cobar picks up 15 millimetres of rain, that would be their heaviest rain so far in 2018.
Ooh, well, with 100% of New South Wales in drought, Tom, any rain, I mean, this is such good news. Farmers must be absolutely, I wouldn't say rejoicing, but it's just been so dry. What's been happening over September? Can you give us a bit of a wrap-up of the drought?
They'll be rejoicing if they get 20 of these systems. I don't know if one will be enough. Now, September was the driest September on record for Australia. That number's just come in today. This is the rain we've seen over the past week. Less than a millimetre for most of Australia. We've just had storms through southeast Queensland and northeast New South Wales, but thunderstorms aren't really much use unless you're directly under one, but even then it's sometimes not much use because you can get severe weather and hail, which destroys crops. So generally not too much rain over the past week. This is the rainfall across September for Australia. You can see most of Australia had well below 5 millimetres of rain. Now the average rainfall across the whole country in September was just over 5 millimetres. That is not a very high figure. Many parts of southern Australia had their dry September on record, and when you average it across the whole country, lowest September total on record, and that's out of 119 years. So that's quite a significant record to break.
And what's going to be happening? I mean, this rain event for New South Wales, Wednesday till the weekend. What can we expect after that?
Well, once this rain eases off over the weekend, we're completely clear. We'll still have some showers and storms around eastern New South Wales Saturday and Sunday. Then I guess our attention will turn back to the west, because Western Australia will get some rain this week, and hopefully one of those systems will then move east, but it's probably too far out to be accurate at the moment.
All right, Tom. Well, bushwalkers have described their incredible escape, heading back to the fires, from a fast-moving blaze in central Queensland, and over 10 people have been rescued.
What started as a holiday hike ended with 11 people, including young children, running for their lives.
We've safely extracted 12 people from the danger zone. They were cut off between the waterfall and the car park.
A rescue helicopter spotted the trapped hikers as they were frantically calling for help from the mountainside.
The chap out of the helicopter who come and took us to a flat piece of rock there, and they harnessed my grandson and myself up, ready to be winched up, and then they changed from that to the fireys actually walked us out.
Emergency services say the hikers were just moments away from falling victim to the flames.
Quite a few dead trees that were actually fallen, and one actually fell behind the police officer that was bringing up the rear with us, and yeah, it come pretty close to him.
Very, very scary, especially for the young kids, but they're all safe and well.
Firefighters had been on high alert due to hot and dry conditions in central and southern Queensland.
All were treated for minor smoke inhalation, however none of those patients required hospitalisation or transport to the hospital.
Fire crews are warning bushwalkers in the state's south to steer clear of hiking trails until conditions ease. Kieran Gare, Sky News.
Well, it certainly is a very good idea to check the conditions before you go out for a bushwalk. Let's head now, though, to the forecast weather right around the nation for tomorrow. Tom Saunders, what have you got for us?
Another dry day for Queensland. Just a slight chance of showers along the north tropical coast. So, yeah, we won't get any help from the weather for those fires which are burning. And the fire dangers tomorrow will be similar to today. Very high for the Goldfields, Cape York Peninsula, and high for the tropical coastline. We're expecting a dry day for New South Wales. Apart from the far west, there's a chance of late showers near the South Australian border. Warm northerly winds means temperatures will be above average. We've got 31 in Broken Hill. That will be 5 degrees above the October average. For Victoria, patchy morning fog in Gippsland, then isolated light showers developing in the west and then spreading further east, staying dry in the southeast corner. There's not much in this. It'll be less than a millimetre for most parts of the state and a warm northerly airstream. Also warm northerlies for Tasmania, so temperatures are slightly above average. We'll have light showers mainly across the west, increasing across the northwest later. Chance of showers for most of South Australia tomorrow. Isolated storms in the west, possibly extending to central areas later. Warm northerly winds and a late southerly change in Adelaide late in the afternoon. Showers and storms for the southern and central southwest land division, the southern Goldfields and the Eucla, otherwise dry. And for the Northern Territory, we've got generally just dry and hot conditions. 36 in Alice Springs. That is also 5 degrees above average.
A warm day for the Alice. Thanks so much for joining us. Do stay tuned, though. We'll keep you updated on all things weather right here on Sky News Weather.
Across northern Australia, the wet season has just begun. Officially, anyway. We don't really have all that much rain to speak of at the moment across Australia. As you can see from these photos behind me, the skies are pretty clear across Queensland, Northern Territory and Western Australia at the moment through the top end of the country. Now, in terms of what we're expecting through this wet season, well, we know a few things that seem fairly likely at this stage. Now, particularly through October, drier than usual conditions are expected across northern Australia, particularly through Queensland and the Northern Territory. Western Australia might get away with near average rainfall. We'll have to wait and see, really. But across those regions through October, warmer than usual temperatures are pretty much guaranteed. In fact, pretty much the entirety of the country looks to have warmer than usual conditions in terms of maximums and minimum temperatures. Now, when we look at October through to December as a whole, we might see some areas see near average temperatures, but generally speaking, temperatures look like they're going to be a little bit above the average, and therefore we're going to see a fairly uncomfortable build-up, especially through western parts of the top end, where we're also going to see rainfall start to get a little bit close to the average by the time we get close to the end of the year. But in terms of the monsoon onset, it looks like it's going to be later than usual for most areas, particularly through Queensland and inland parts of the Northern Territory, and also potentially through eastern parts of the top end as well. So, and that's primarily due to the fact that we're likely to be either in El Nino or close to El Nino thresholds as we move through the season. So for anybody hoping to get that monsoon rain, it looks like it's going to be a little bit later than usual in most areas.
Have you ever looked for a hotel online?